Good morning and welcome to today's news on Vanguard Live. My name is Damilola Okushaki and I'm with my co-host
Precious Chukudi.
Here on Vanguard Live, we read and give in-depth analysis on the stories making waves across Nigeria. And of course, this morning we started with the front page of Vanguard. And here on the front page of Vanguard, we have NDDC failed siege in Port Harcourt, storm in Abuja. Wike storms ex-NDDC MD Nunez resident for a siege by policemen. Asked Inspector General of Police to probe alleged attempted abduction of Nune. Nigerians will hear more from me. Nune vows. NDDC boss walks out of representative hearing. Reps issue warrant for his arrest. Buhari orders speedy investigation to restore accountability, transparency. South governors back forensic audit of NDDC deploys commission's crisis. You can see details of these on page 5. And moving on to other stories, page 10 we have a fresh suit seeks to disqualify Itze Iyamo as APC candidate. And on the front page, we have a photo story of the former Managing Director, Interim Management Committee of Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. This is Joy Nune entering the car provided for her by Governor Yeson Wike of Rivers State after the governor rescued her from a siege laid on a residence in Port Harcourt by security men. Now on page 25, we have 5 years after Labour United's aggrieved unions return to NLC. Aaron Atile's death suspicious, says Are Adams and Afenifere, also NWYC. You can see this on page 9. Moving on to the stories above, still on page 9, we have a school's resumption will rigorously enforce the COVID-19 rules, says Southwest States. Fear grieves Akeredolu's opponents at Governor Bello at primary school election committee. That's primary election committee rather. You can see this on page 10. On page 8, we have Nigeria loses 3 billion naira to illegal gold smuggling in 6 years. And lastly, on the front page of Vanguard, we have Lawan Gbaja meets Buhari over 774,000 jobs. And from the front page of Vanguard, we move straight to the Punch newspaper.
And on the Punch newspaper, we have main headlines: NDDC controversial probe, Wike fumes as police storm ex-MD's house, officials clash with National Assembly. The riders, we have investigate invasion of Nune's house, Rivers governor tells IG. Buhari orders speedy probe, ask panel to collaborate. There's also a photo story of Nune getting into Governor Wike's car. And the stories above, we have Arotile, family demands probe, Afenifere rejects free crash report. You can see more on that story on page 7. And on page 10, WASC rep to lobby governors over school reopening. On page 25, we have Nigeria's foreign reserve drops to $36.12 billion. And stories beneath, we have Mago will be cleared of allegations, reinstated, says counsel. You can see that story on page 12. And on page 4, Oshun man arraigned for abducting neighbor's wife, kids. See that story more on page 4. And lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have Ingige sets up panel on alleged 3.4 billion naira NSITF fraud. You can see that story on page 24. And away from the Punch newspaper, we move straight to the Nation.
And on the front page of the Nation, we have NDDC crisis. Buhari orders a speedy coordinated probe, and the writer says AG orders walk out on representative. We won't tolerate rascally appointees, says Lawan. House wanted Conde arrested. South governors forum back a forensic audit. You can see details of this on page 2. And of course, moving on page 6, we have a World Bank. 42% of jobs lost to COVID-19 in 4 months. Hospitality, service industry, worst hit. And on page 27, we have Nigeria to make $500 million yearly from gold exports. And moving on to other stories, on page 6, we have Tinubu consoles Kuka over mother's death. Lily laments Osimhen's imminent departure. And on page 6 also we have Makinde to sack council chiefs, return government properties. Drama as Wike rescues ex-NDDC MD from police. You can see this on page 26. Obaseki's government emptying treasure, APC alleges. PDP rejects APC's request to transfer case to Abuja. And lastly, on the front page of the Nation, we have movements will rescue states from captors, stays chair, and you can see this on page 6. And moving on to this day newspaper.
And on this day newspaper, we have main headlines: Buhari orders security agencies to unearth roots of corruption in NDDC. And the House Committee directs arrest of interim managing director as delegation works out on lawmakers. South governors deplore commission's crisis backs audit. Also, drama as Wike foils police attempts to arrest Nune. Stories above we have made in Nigeria, gold arrives to boost foreign reserve. And lastly, on the front page of this day, we have how Magu regained his freedom, says council. You can see that story on page 5 of this day newspaper.
And that's all we have for the front pages of the papers. But we're going on a short break that will return to analyzing the front pages of the stories too. Stay with us. Come back.
Jojo.
Alright, welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's today in the news from Vanguard Live. And my name is Damilola Ogushaki, and I've been doing this with my co-host, Precious Chukudi. And right now, this is the analysis segment where we're analyzing some of the stories on the front pages with you. So we're starting with that of the front page of Vanguard, and that's that NDDC failed sealed in the Port Harcourt storm in Abuja. So Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State yesterday rescued Miss Joy Nune, former acting managing director, interim management committee of the Niger Delta Development Commission, that's NDDC, when he stormed the Port Harcourt residence and freed her from a siege mounted by policemen. And Wike arrived at her residence and ordered policemen around out of his way. Meanwhile, Governor Wike asked Inspector General of Police, Mr. Mohammed Adamu, to investigate the invasion by the armed men, the 50 armed men. Nune also vowed that Nigerians will hear from the kind of worms that she's been opening over her face off with ministers for Niger Delta affairs. That's Governor Godwin. Godwin Akpabio, brother, on the National Assembly probe of NDDC. The governor said that what happened is a disgrace, and is that who knows what would have happened to her if they had gained access to our main room. And she is supposed to testify before the House of the Representative Committee yesterday, and they have her, men armed, watching to abduct her. He also added that anybody who is responsible for this attempted adoption of Lunde should know that enough is enough, and they can't treat her like a common criminal. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police and Rivers CP, that's Commissioner of Police, have said that they knew nothing about the deployment of a team of policemen that laid a siege at a residence. Meanwhile, Governor Wike also expresses his disgust with the police action, saying that he called the Commissioner of Police and he said he was not aware of these things that happened. So looking at this yesterday, I looked at the interview when Joy Mini was talking. She was like when she tried to open a door, and when she wanted to come out, like they tried to grab her, so she ran inside and just locked the door. And maybe some hours and some minutes later, the governor so Wike went there to rescue her. And when the governor was talking, he was asking that where's the arrest warrant? Who told you to arrest her? Even if you are supposed to arrest her, you are supposed to ask her to visit you, which she will visit you. So why coming to a resident to arrest her like a criminal? That they're not supposed to do that. And I think Governor Wike rescued her to his resident, and she was like, now she's now a refugee in Governor Wike's house. You understand? So this whole thing, I think there's just a lot of things coming up with Governor Wike saying that he called the Commissioner of Police, and the Commissioner of Police said that he's not aware.
Called in case of where they are trying to silence her.
And that's what they're saying.
At the end of the day, they should wait for the probe to happen.
They should wait for it. She was supposed to go to the House of Representatives yesterday to testify about these the investigation going on NDDC now, and that of Godwin Akpabio. So yesterday, now happened that all of a sudden, just that same yesterday, something like this happened. So people are really asking questions. What is going on? Why are the people surrounding Inspector General of Police saying that the IGP is not aware that something like this happened? Commissioner of Police also is not aware that something like this happened. So who sets them? That is the question people are asking.
Who sends the police, and why exactly is it that on that day when she was supposed to go for to meet the investigation probe, and that's the day they decided to now come at her house?
So it's what and just like what the governor said, that if they had gained access to our main room and all this, who knows what would have happened. So you can just see a lot of reactions yesterday, reading a lot, and I got tired. But people are just asking. We are really curious. Nigerians are curious what's really happening and what's going on. But I believe they will update us very soon.
Alright, moving on. Schools resumption will vigorously enforce COVID-19 protocols. Southwest states, that's what they're saying. And following the decision by the Southwest states to allow students in the zone seat for the West African Examination Council, Wike, some states in the region have expressed readiness to follow the COVID-19 protocols before schools resume. The Ekiti, Ogun, and Osun states yesterday promised to vigorously enforce the COVID-19 protocols. The Ekiti State Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Mr. Folusho Daramola, said this at a meeting of the State Universal Basic Education Board (SUBEB) management held with the head teachers of public primary schools in Edo, Ekiti. Daramola expressed the commitment of state government to the safety of teachers and pupils when school resumes. He disclosed that plans to underway to appoint and train focal persons in all schools to ensure compliance with COVID-19 protocols. I think that this is a good movement because really we don't know how long the pandemic is going to be with us. So it's a swift move to decide how we're going to operate whilst the pandemic is still on, how we're going to also protect the lives and lives of the children to ensure that they are in good health. And he's saying that's Mr. Felicia Daramala, that he's going to ensure that every school that would come, that would be opened, would follow the COVID-19 protocols, which is really important.
I think I saw one of the schools that they resumed of recent, and looking at them, I just saw that the water, washing hands and sanitizer was there, soap was there, and the students were washing their hands, and there was actually the children, they were safe, they were spaced, so the social distancing is there, and they were all with their face masks.
Then
the students without the face mask will turn back
to be ensured in all schools.
Yeah, it has to be ensured in all schools.
Some sets of schools.
But we just know that, not most of the parts, especially in Lagos, when you go to just small areas, you see small schools everywhere. So if they want to do this, they just have to do it properly, because these are students we're talking about, children. So, looking at these schools, it means that they really have a lot of work to do, and make sure that all the schools are following these protocols that they put down. So if the schools are ready to open, we really, really have a lot of things to do. But seeing that the Southwest states are saying that, that they will do this, I think it's actually a good thing coming from them.
Okay.
So, moving away from that now, talking about the 774,000 jobs, President Muhammadu Buhari yesterday met behind closed doors with the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, as Speaker of the House of Representatives, that's Femi Gbajabiamila, at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Lawan said that Buhari had made a deliberate effort to ensure a good relationship between the two arms, and warned the political appointees not to jeopardize the harmonious bond between the legislature and the executive arms of government. It says that the National Assembly has been very supportive, very friendly with the executive arm of government, and there is no doubt in mind that the president has been quite supportive of the legislature as well, and he believes that the meeting is going to improve the relationship between the two arms of government.
Alright, moving on, we have Marco will be cleared of allegations reinstated, says the council, and the suspended acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Mago, expressed confidence that he would be reinstated to office. His lawyer, Mr. Wahab Shitu, said, "I have the instruction of Mr. Mago to tell Nigerians that he is not against the ongoing probe. The allegations against him are trumped up. He strongly believes that his name will be cleared and he will be reinstated back to office." Meanwhile, Shitu, on behalf of Mago, sent a letter to the panel denying series of allegations reported in the media. Specifically, he denied giving 4 billion naira to the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and giving 28 million naira to Mr. Femi Falana, SAN. Both Osinbajo and Falana had separately denied the allegation. So, this one is just coming from, part of the Mago story that we've been following up, and his counsel is saying that he's not guilty of some of the allegations, that some of the allegations are just overemphasized, and that he would clear himself and then come back to office. That's what we're asking for. Clear yourself so that you can come back, because it doesn't make any sense if the body that is fighting corruption is corrupting itself. It doesn't.
Exactly, that's just the story. So do you have comments?
Yes, let me take this comment, and this one is from Charming Slim, says they should just sell this country.
When I saw that comment, I was laughing. Please don't let them sell this country.
Please, they should do.
I still love this country.
And this is from Oyegun Oyenuron, says our country needs divine probe. And this is from okay, so let's see. This one is from Eyakeno Dom. Says a forensic audit is the problem. And Bankole Yakub says the fake police should be arrested and exposed to stop such happening again. Exactly. If they are saying, if the IGP is saying that you didn't send them, Commissioner will be saying I didn't send them. So who now sends the police?
That is the main.
So let them be. whoever sends them should be exposed. So let's take this one from Jimo Salimon, who says, as long as you are doing a good job, try as much as possible to call a spade a spade. The institution belongs to Niger Delta as a whole. Some sections have been hijacked it and spending recklessly. It is a good thing that the woman of virtue and honor has exposed the people behind this devilish act against Niger Deltans. You should please call for the meeting of all the governors within Niger Delta as a whole to discuss these ugly incidents going on in NDDC. And it is shameful. It's a shameful thing. All these powerful individuals causing problems for masses must be removed. Let it be a joint action. Going and defend and or rescue your people in this kind of situation will not last. One day you'll be out of office. Okay, so he's talking about the fact that Wike came to save Mune, and he's asking that let these people be exposed and so that they can be brought to book instead of having all these a quick response action that you don't know what's going to happen if Wike is not there anymore. I think that's what he's saying in particular.
Okay, so moving on for that, let's take a story that's that of the NLC. So 5 years after the crisis and disunity that had the Nigerian labor movement, peace yesterday returned to the movement as leaders athletes of United Labour Congress of Nigeria, that's NLC, ended the rift that had weakened them organized labor's capacity to mobilize for mass action against perceived anti-labor and anti-people policies of government. The president, that's the NLC president, Ajero, says with the reconciliation, the leadership and structures of the ULC and they reintegrated into the NLC. The ULC have been reintegrated into the NLC. The reconciliation memorandum of understanding, that's the MOU, signed between the two leaderships, the modus operandi for the reintegration and the ancillary issues are spelled out to the satisfaction of both parties. So it just seems that after years of this, they are back together, still signing an MOU. So of course you know that you are supposed to follow the rules, and we just hope that this NLC, the one with the NLC and the ULC, something like this will happen again. So I think that's just what it is. So your story.
Moving on, Buhari, I won't accept any disrespect to National Assembly. And if you've been following continuously, you see the back and forth between Minister of Labour, that Festus Keyamo, State Minister of State for Labour, Festus Keyamo, and the National Assembly. And so the President has warned all his appointees that he would not accept any act of disrespect to the National Assembly. According to a statement by his Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, Kaba Shehu, the President handed down the warning while receiving the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, at the Presidential Villa Abuja. The statement was titled President Buhari reads riot acts to ministers, MDAs, chief executives on relationship with National Assembly. According to the statement, the President asked ministers and all heads of state, of department and agencies to at all times conduct themselves in ways that will not undermine the National Assembly as an institution, its leadership and members. So we know this whole back and forth with I saw that video that was, maybe like some weeks back, and already asked the Festus Keyamo to leave. That if he wasn't going to, because he was asking that the journalist should be present in the whole debate between both of them. So it's good that the president is coming out to say that, okay, I understand that we want to work things out, but I would not take, you disrespecting the National Assembly. So let me take more comments, and this one is from a foreign wire gospel. It says, God will help Nigeria. And this from Ahamefula. He says, a dubious politician. Well, it's what you are trying to fight, some of these corrupt entities in the country. So it's a lot of work to do.
Okay, so that's all.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay, now I think that's all we have for the review. But let's look at our sports. Of course, here on Vanguard Sports, we have Okocha, I regret not winning Confederation of African Football Award as a CAF award, and also talking about the other one, Real Madrid are La Liga champions. Boxing legend Hopkins teams Joshua to Fury to knock out Fury, and also Lily confirms Osimhen's imminent departure. And COVID-19 NFF to support clubs for next season's campaign, says Phoenix. I think I'm looking at this club saying that, talking about Nigerians returning to club. We have seen other things going on. We've seen other teams. EPL is going on now. La Liga, Real Madrid has been seen as the champions of La Liga and all that. Nigerians are really anxious to know when the sports will return back to Nigeria and Nigerian football. But we know that it will return, but just because of this COVID-19 stuff,
we don't really have.
We have no choice for now. Though we might want to go to the field, to stadium, to rejoice, celebrate. One thing about football is that it brings people together. It makes you happy, and sometimes when you see them rejoicing, even forget it when you are watching football with someone that you don't really like. You don't know when you start shaking, especially when both of you are supporting the same team. It unites people together. So a lot of people, they are missing this bond. This especially we say that these watching centers also they can't go there. They're just missing everything surrounding it. But we know that it will come back. But the best thing is just to wait. So I'm also looking at I think the EPL results. It's here. That's Everton. That is home to the Aston Villa, of course they drew, and also Leicester City defeated Sheffield United as 2-0, while Crystal Palace, of course, was home to Man United, but Man United defeated them 2-0, while Southampton and Brighton, of course, it was a draw between the both of them. And for today's matches on EPL, West Ham will be home to Watford, while Huddersfield will be home to West Brom. And of course that's all. Now before we go, let's just look at what Mr. and Mrs. what they are saying. And the first person speaking today is Mr. He says, if love is real, it's a thing money can't buy. And Mrs. replied, if you think love's come before money, you are still seeing old romantic movies. In fact, you've gone as far as season 50.
Well, we know. The women folks know that without money, that love can't work.
If the love is there, anger will crowd it. That is one thing about it. But love, money actually makes the world go round. Just like
of course, it's just what it is.
I mean,
and you know when this love thing is just very funny because really, I don't know how you want to love somebody that can't provide. It's hard.
Very, very hard.
So when there is money, the love goes round naturally. So because when there's money, you can equally provide food to eat. You can take your partner to that very fancy place. You can, do all the surprise.
But when you're trying to say like when there's money means like you're comfortable and you can, you can afford to stay at your own comfort and you can provide for your needs and your family's needs. Not necessarily, to be that billionaire, that trillionaire that we are.
Well, at least you can afford to
when we say these things, sometimes men, this is what they think. I know that always having that argument with someone. It has to be like, okay, you need to have, okay, I want to get things, you need to not go to anywhere you want to go, but not necessarily just for you to be comfortable, but and not like saying that I'm in love, but I can stay with someone that's okay, 101 or 1, I think it's 001, morning, afternoon, no food, night is food. That is not what we call love. Come on, let's forget about that. But of course, that's all we have for you on Today in the News. Don't forget that you can always like and follow us on our social media platforms that are showing on your screen, or visit our website, and that's www.vanguardnigeria.com. Ensure to stay safe, protect yourself, keep face masking, as that's the best way to protect yourself and your neighbors. It's bye from us from Today in the News.
Thank you for watching.